Happy Black History Month and happy Saturday, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to me on a Saturday. And I picked February 22nd to start at 222 because, as I mentioned before, I'm a fan of numbers. So 222 is the angel number, the sign of balance, harmony, and spiritual alignment, right? And also, it represents collaboration, unity, and a pursuit of success. So how many people want to learn how they can build wealth through real estate? We're gonna make this interactive. This is Saturday. I gotta make sure y'all up. I know folks probably got parties and stuff to go to because it's Saturday. Okay. We up now. What's up, Rico? I got some inner circle folks in here. Got Rico, got Shirley, got Adrian. Okay. All right, let me share my screen. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about, and people normally, y'all know me for hotels and apartments. Well, really hotels, not for apartments. But guess what? Apartments make money too. And it's also a form of commercial real estate. So which one would y'all prefer to invest in, either hotels or apartments?
Both.
Both? I think some folks on here are investing in both, right? So who hotels, who both? Okay, we got both. Chandra said hotels. Hotels. Okay. All right. So let's see if that's still gonna be the same. Who said apartments? Interested in both. Okay, let's get this party started. All right. So just overview. We're gonna talk about the wealth building power of hotels and apartments, choosing between buying a hotel versus an apartment, finding your first hotel or apartment, and your next steps to ownership. So how many people, this is their first time with me on the webinar? I see some familiar faces. Well, even if this is not your first time, you're gonna this is a little different because I normally don't talk about apartments. All right, so for those who don't know who I am, my name is Davon Reeves, also known as the Queen of Hotel Investing. And I've been in the industry for over 15 years. I started off as a front desk agent, navigated my way into hotel ownership through changing my circle. I've done feasibility studies, hotel development consulting, author of a book, How to Buy a Hotel, over $1 billion in assets managed, $30 million in assets under management. Those are my 3 hotels. That number's about to change because I'm actually about to sell all my hotels. Been featured in Forbes, Time, Lodging Magazine, Afrotech, Atlanta Business Chronicle, Black Enterprise, just about everything with the exception of Essence, I feel like. I've received numerous awards. These are some of my favorite awards. Georgia State University, that's my alma mater. I received their 40 under 40, so that means a lot to me. The International Society of Hospitality Consultants Emerging Leader Award, and the Atlanta Business Chronicle Women of Influence. So these are my 3 hotels. Have a 85-room home 2 suites in El Reno, Oklahoma. We purchased that for $8.3 million in 2020. In 2021, we acquired 2 more hotels. Me and my business partners, 145-room Staybridge Suites in Indianapolis Fishers, and a Hampton Inn Suites in Scottsburg, Indiana. And we acquired those 2 hotels for about 17.8 million, and we're actually about to sell those two, and it's going to yield rate a 19% ROI to the owners and investors. And we were able to exit out the deal 2 years earlier than expected. Okay. And so a lot of those strategies and stuff that I teach, because I'm not really teaching anymore. I'm only doing exclusively for my inner circle folks, so that way I could spend more time with them. And those are the people that have actually been the most successful, the people who I work with directly. Brands, we have I launched in 2017 the Vaughn Group, which is my consulting firm. In 2000, ownership group 2021, I launched Stay Black Experience, which is a directory of Black-owned hotels. Vestor is a crowdfunding platform where you can invest or raise capital. So for my folks who want to invest passively in hotels, check out vestor.com. We have some deals on there now, some hotel opportunities where you can invest in. Investor Academies, the educational arm. All right, so the journey from renter to owner. So I actually used to rent an apartment, used to live in an apartment, used to rent it. And never really thought about growing up. I didn't really understand ownership. Like just about everybody in my immediate family owned their home. So ownership, it wasn't foreign. I thought it was the norm, but I really didn't understand the value and benefit of ownership until I got into hotel ownership. So, and actually, my grandma kind of steered me away from owning because I guess she looked at ownership as, because she was older. So she was like, oh, you don't want to own a house because every time you got to fix something is your responsibility. So she kind of put that in my head. So I never really was like, I got to own. How many people had that experience growing up? It's like, you don't want to own. It was kind of negative. I mean, looking back at it, but she was at a stage in her life where it was just too much of a hassle for her because she was just older. So it was like, the roof, when folks get a certain age, any little thing is stressful and they, get a little frazzled. So that's what was going on with my grandma. Now, my dad, on the other hand, his take on renting an apartment is like owning a storage unit, right? Owning a storage unit meaning you're making someone else rich. Um, you're paying someone else's mortgage and you never truly get any value out of it. So he basically made it seem like that's what an apartment was. He's like, you want to own because at least if you own and you paying a mortgage, you know, if you decide to sell it, you get some type of value, you get some type of benefit. You don't get that with an apartment, right? You don't get that from renting. Had to fight that mindset. Yeah. My grandma, and I will say this, my grandma, she did have two paid off homes. So she believed in just paying everything off. That's how my grandma, she didn't believe in debt. But it was just, again, she was like 60 years older. So by the time I got to a certain age, it was just a headache for her. But I'm sure she but she did tell me to always keep a paid off house in the family. I will say that my grandma always said that. So that way one of your family members, that way everybody would have a place to stay. She left two paid off houses. So that way her kids could always have a place to stay. So I guess if we can't keep up the taxes and insurance, then that's the issue, right? But the most part, at least you always have a place to stay. So here's some issues, right? I don't know how to get started in real estate. A lot of people have that issue or pain point. How many people feel that they don't know how to get started in real estate? I don't have a lot of money for a down payment. Hotels sound too complicated. Should I start with apartments? So those are some of the pain points that people think about, right? So why invest in these assets? All right. So apartments are good for beginners. Stable rental income is easy to get financed. So that's a good thing about apartments. With hotels, a little bit more complicated, but it's a higher cash flow. it's multiple income streams and appreciation potential. So the reason why it's higher cash flow, for one, they're nightly leases. Okay. With apartments, it's pretty much 12-month, 13-month, or whatever the rent, whatever the lease is. With hotels, you can change it. The Super Bowl is coming, Beyonce coming to town, you can increase the price for that weekend, right? Multiple income streams. So you can get multiple income streams from hotels. Some people, they rent out their parking lots to truck drivers or the EV stations. You have meeting income, you have room revenue, you have all of these different income streams that's coming in. And if you own the land, you can lease out the towers to different. So it's a lot of different things that you could do with hotels because you own land. Appreciation potential, as it appreciates in value, and also tax benefits as well. So some insights: both apartments and hotels, they do provide passive income, but hotels can be more profitable when structured correctly. Okay. All right. So how to choose between buying a hotel versus an apartment. So think about which income or investment is better for you. What's the risk level for each, and which one has the best return on investment, right? So which one is the better investment for you starting off, right? Do you want to start off with an apartment, or do you want to start with a hotel? I actually started off with a hotel. Um, and now I'm adding apartments to my portfolio and other commercial asset classes. Once you get into commercial real estate, you typically try to invest in other asset classes. You just don't really stick to one, right? And then think about what's the risk level for each. So hotels are riskier, and the reason why hotels are riskier, because hotels is not a necessity. An apartment and a place to live is a necessity, right? So if the economy isn't going well, then so is travel. I will say this, put this disclaimer out. I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes. I'm not soliciting or anything for a deal, okay? And so you definitely, any type of investment you make is risky, and you can lose your money. So which one has the best return on investment is those are the things that you want to think about and how to choose buying a hotel versus an apartment. So hotels versus an apartment. So you got the startup costs, cash flow management, exit strategy, and ownership structure. So startup costs with apartments typically is lower. You can use FHA loans, which are government loans. And then the down payments are smaller, right? Depending on the type of apartments you get, anything that's 4 or less, they're considered residential, so you don't have to put 20% down, and you can take advantage of the FHA loans and put 3.5% down, right, of the down payment. Cash flow is consistent, mostly monthly rent. Management, it's sometimes it could be easier because it's longer term tenants. You can manage it yourself. You can bring in a property management company. Exit strategy, you can sell if you individually, or you can sell as a portfolio. And then the ownership structure, you can structure it as a personally or a LLC. Again, you want to go to your CPA or lawyer for that type of ownership structure to protect you. Startup cost is higher because typically they cost more. So you're looking at 20 to 35% down as a down payment. Higher revenue per room, and it's seasonal demand based off the cash flow. Management is more hands-on. If you do owner operator, you can hire the management company. Exit strategy, you can sell to investors or rebrand for a higher valuation. For instance, the hotels that we're selling it to another ownership group. Sometimes what people do, they may buy an independent hotel and they rebrand it for maybe a Hilton Spark, right? So now, before you could have sold that hotel for $1 million, now you can sell it for $2 million because it's a Hilton brand on it, right? So that could be an example exit strategy. Ownership structure, it could be owned by LLC, a syndication, or REIT stands for real estate investment trust. Typically, a lot of your big box hotels or your larger hotels, they're owned by a REIT. All right, so based off this information, which investment aligns with your current finances or long-term wealth goals? So pick one: apartments, hotels, or both, based off this information that we just talked about. Now, again, apartments are a great starting point, but hotels can scale your wealth much faster. What you got? Both. Hotel. Both. Okay. Both. Okay. All right. Now, some folks, as far as analyzing the hotel apartment deal, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to analyze a deal. How do I know if the numbers make sense? What's the difference between a hotel and apartment analysis? Those are some questions that people typically ask, or some issues that folks typically have, right? Okay, we got some folks that still doing hotels. Okay, so these are some of the key metrics that you need when you're analyzing a hotel. Net operating income, which is the difference of your rental income and your operating expenses. So all your revenue that you get from the rents minus your expenses is your net operating income. All right, your cap rate, net operating income divided by purchase price. The higher is better when it comes to apartments. And cash on cash return equates to your annual cash flow divided by your total investment. So the cash on cash return, give you an example, if you gave, you know, 25,000 and you get back, 50,000. That could be an equity multiple, and then you want to see how much the return on cash, right? So those are the key metrics that folks look at when analyzing apartments. Here's an example, right? So again, apartments are a great starting point, but hotels, you can scale your wealth a lot faster when done right. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about apartments. Here's an example of how to analyze an apartment. So your purchase price is 500,000. All right. The rental come or rent rolls, you hear that a lot, $5,000 a month. So that's the rental income. Okay. Expenses 2,000 a month. The NOI, we just talked about that, stands for net operating income, or 36,000 a year. So you're looking at a cap rate of 7.2%. So when you're looking at the deals, you're like, okay, is that 30%, that 36,000, is that before or after my mortgage, right? Because how are you going to purchase this 500,000, which is it could be an investment property or could not be an investment property. It's an investment property, you're going to need about 20% down. So that's about 100,000 that you'll have to put down as a down payment. Okay. There's a lot more loan options that you can get. You can work with your local bank. So these are different things that you can do. And then you're like, okay, I'm bringing in 36,000 a year. Is this before or after debt service, right? Um, and So it depending on if this is before and after, you're bringing a decent amount of money. Okay, what do y'all think about this? From just looking at it, that's 36,000 a year. That's coming to you. That's extra cash flow. Okay. So this is hotel, analyzing the hotel. So you got RevPAR, and you'll see this a lot when you're analyzing deals. RevPAR, which stands for revenue per available room, which is the average revenue per room, or the indicates the health of the hotel. The occupancy is the percentage of rooms occupied. So if you have 100 rooms and it's 50% in 100 rooms and 50 rooms are occupied, then it's 50% occupancy. An average daily rate is an average price per night per room. So that's all the different rates in an average. So AARP, military rate, Expedia, all in wrapped up into one. Here's a hotel example of analyzing the deal. All right. So 20-room hotel with 70% occupancy, ADR, average daily rate, 150 a night. So when you multiply ADR occupancy, you get $105. So 63,000, so that's the monthly revenue. And you can get that from $105 times 20 rooms times 30 days, and expenses 25,000. So you're looking at 38,000 a month, or 456,000 a year NOI. That's the money that you're bringing in after your expenses. Now, as long as that number can cover your debt service, that's what you're putting in your pocket. So you see why some folks would rather invest or buy a hotel than an apartment, because of the nightly rate that you're able to change. All right, here's another exercise. So so your investment strategy now, still apartments, Hotels or a mix of both? Hotels, hotels, hotels. Okay.
Mm.
A mix of both. All right. Then we have folks who are like, I don't have money to invest. Can I finance a hotel or apartment without millions of dollars? What are my funding options? Those are the questions that I get a lot. Okay. That's actually how I got started. I don't have the money to invest. Can I finance a hotel or apartment without millions of dollars? What are my funding options? Right. Okay. So these are different ways to fund your deal. Apartments, FHA loans, which are governmental loans, conventional loans. That's like going through the bank. Partnerships and seller financing. So seller financing basically, and there's some folks that are doing it. So basically the owner of the deal, the owner of the asset becomes the bank. So instead of you paying the bank, you're paying the owner. So that's seller financing, right? And so typically those can be a little bit more. Anybody ever heard a lease to own option? That's kind of what seller financing is. Like you're leasing it until you can actually own it. And then but you want to structure it where after you do the deal that you own it, right? After you get, they may say seller financing for 2 years. So 2 years you're paying this person every month. The down payment is typically a little bit higher. And then after 2 years, then you should be able to go out and get your loan, right? And you can use that you've been paying this person, and also you've been paying down a lot more and then you also negotiate the price that you want to purchase it for too. So hotels, you can do SBA, which is a small business association loans, 504 loans up to $5 million. You can do syndication, meaning where folks coming in together and they're investing and they're buying a hotel. You can do joint ventures where you're partnering with somebody to buy the hotel. Crowdfunding, like using platforms like Vestor. So a lot of times you don't need to use your own money to buy real estate. So you can definitely leverage financing partnerships. And again, we talk about that a lot in the inner circle, or I connect you with folks. So that way you can get the financing and sourcing that you need. So the moment I said yes to my hotel, um, now the moment I said yes to my hotel was in 2020, and how we acquired the hotel was how we acquired the hotel was through uh getting folks together and investing privately. So we actually acquired that hotel during COVID. The seller overdeveloped like this complex in El Reno. And we actually found a deal from a broker who had a relationship, actually from a management company who had a relationship with the bank and the broker. That's how we found the deal. And so so we only had to put 10% down because we assumed the loan. And I don't like sharing this story because I don't want people to think, oh, I could just do it that way. That's a little harder to do. And those type of deals were easier to find during COVID because it was so many people that was on the verge of losing their hotel. So it's harder to do those now. Um, and we thought after COVID, the industry thought after COVID, it was gonna be a lot of deals that's gonna be up for foreclosure, and that didn't happen. So we only had to put really 10% down on the deal. And so basically assuming the loan is already in place and you get in and just basically take over the driver's seat. So here's some next steps to towards ownership. Book a free strategy call because we have my inner circle that closes on February 28th. We have folks signing up. I know some folks on the call, they just signed up. So limited options, limited spaces available. And so basically what the inner circle is, we're going to be meeting monthly with different topics. Like the upcoming topic this week, we're going to talk about AI, and I'm going to give the prompts. And we're just going to go through different and how you can analyze deals, how you can raise capital, how you can structure so many things for real estate and for your business itself through AI. One of our inner circles members, she's investing. She's in the process of buying an office building, and we were able to analyze the deal and put together the sensitivity analysis and a offer letter and everything, all just using AI. And so those are the things that we go through. We also have upcoming brand events. So Hilton, there's a Hilton event in March that I'll be speaking at. That's only for the inner circle members, as well as we're going to brand tours in October. So we're going to Marriott headquarters, Choice headquarters, and Hilton headquarters, and we're going to Belize. And then you'll get one-on-one sessions with me as well. We had a couple folks I connected with inner circle, and now they are working on becoming a co-GP. They invested in their first deal probably a couple months after joining. So I'll be more than happy to put the link in the chat so that way you can apply. And then I left some time for Q&A. Do we have any questions? There's the link to contact me. Uh-oh. No questions? What? Where'd it go?
I think you
There
have
we
a question in the chat.
Okay, see. Oh, there we go. Oh, we got two questions. So it says, why am I selling our hotels? Well, we're selling two hotels because one, this is a good time to sell, and we're about to do a PIP. Well, it's in time for a PIP. So PIP stands for Property Improvement Plan. And with the PIP, either somebody has to do it, either we have to do it or the new owners have to do it. So we're selling it. We're kind of selling it at a discount, but we're still making a profit. But we're selling at a discount because we're not completing the PIP. So PIP is a brand standard that has to be done, and is mandated by the brand that you have to update the hotel based off their new standards. So that's what. And we just did the analysis, and so we either could have sold it now or sold it in 2 years when we projected, well, when we were going to sell it, because we were going to sell it in 5 years from the time we bought it. Do you need good credit? If you're guaranteed the loan, yes, you will need good credit. If you have bad credit, I would recommend that you look for seller financing deals, because typically with seller financing deals, it's really not based off your credit. It's based off on if the owner would do it. And usually you could do seller financing deals when the seller owns the deal 100%, meaning there's no mortgage on it. Is Airbnb a threat to hotel ownership? No, no. This is the example that I use when I get that question. I was speaking at a short-term rental conference, and it was held at a hotel. So, because there's not really a short-term rental large enough to hold that many people for a meeting space and to have a meeting. So, will you get a copy of yes, you will get a copy of the presentation. Well, you'll get not a presentation, you'll get a copy of the replay. Oh, and so let me put the link in the chat for the folks who want to sign up for the inner circle. And really how I learned all these things is just pretty much by changing my circle. These are some good questions. I don't want to hold y'all too much on the Saturday, but I want to make sure I get y'all questions answered. Do hotels rent out a percent? Okay. Do hotels rent out a percent of the hotel, like to business travelers? Uh, yeah, of course. Yeah, they some depending on how it's negotiated. Um, that depending on how it's negotiated, that you can rent out. Here we go. Business travelers will have special room rates. Those are for the folks who want to apply to join the inner circle. So do hotels rent out? Yeah, some hotels, depending on if it's near the airport, they'll rent out a block of rooms to who want to folks who for crew members, travel nurses, executive. Travel nurses typically stay in extended stay hotels. So extended stay hotels are hotels that have like a kitchenette. And so they typically stay at those type of hotels, like a Stay Bridge or a Home to Suite, so that way they can cook, and it's a lot larger. Aren't monthly expenses for hotels higher than apartments? Yes. And the more expensive, so the more amenities the hotel will have, the higher the expenses will be. Like a Mandarin Oriental will have a lot more expenses. Super 8 or Wood Spring Suites, they'll probably have as much of expenses as an apartment. Wood Spring Suites. Are banks approving more loans to minorities? Um, I would say it's really based on the credit profile. I wouldn't necessarily a minority base. I would say it's the like if you don't, some banks do, right? Because it depends on the lender. Like depending on the lender that you work with, they may not want to work with you based off if you're a woman or not, or based on your skin tone. But that's just lender specific. But it's really based off the credit profile. Like if you don't have the experience, then they're not gonna give it to you regardless of who you are. If you're a non-accredited investor and your income is less than 124,000, but your net worth is more than 124, how much can you invest? Oh, that depends on the deal. It's like 5% of whatever your income is. If you go through Vestor, if you go outside of Vestor, then that's up to you. But if you go through Vestor, then it's a limit. Hopefully that answers your question, Skip. And if you're trying to invest in something specifically, just let us know. Now, these some good questions. We have any more questions? I appreciate you all so much for tuning in on a Saturday. I really do. What are some cons? What are some of the cons for owning hotels? Um, as I mentioned before, it's cyclical. So when the economy isn't doing well, then your hotel isn't doing well. Um, so that's definitely a con. When the market changes, like our hotel in El Reno, the market is shifted. So a lot of the people are having events in the city outside of where our hotel is. So it's causing a decline in occupancy. That's a con. Another con would be um those are probably the biggest. Oh, another con is well, I wouldn't call it a con. That's if you don't operate it right. But though I would say those are the biggest cons. And it's harder to get financing. It is harder to get financing for a hotel because hotels are cyclical and it's based off of apartments. It's easier to get financing because you know if that person's gonna be there for 6 months, or you know that you get in guaranteed month coming in. And like I said, apartments are a necessity, not hotels. What are the top 3 states to buy a hotel in? I wouldn't. Yeah, there's no really answer to that because it depends on what you're trying to do. That's like saying what are the top 3 states to buy a house in? Well, really, that you can't really answer that because that's based off of where you work. So I would say I wouldn't focus on the top 3. I would focus on if you're looking for a hotel to invest in or buy, I would look into something that's closer to you. So if, like, you're in the DC area, DC is expensive to buy in, so maybe look outside of the DC area. Like, I'm in Georgia, but I wouldn't buy anything in Atlanta because it's too expensive. I will look outside of Atlanta. So, I would say you wanna create your ownership or investment thesis first, and then go from there on where you will wanna buy your hotel. And your investment thesis is like the what one where it's like a roadmap to buying a hotel or to making any type of investment. These some good questions. Any more? All right. Well, I appreciate you so much for tuning. Oh, wait, one more. Outside of experience working at hotels and all the info in your courses, what are the best things to educate yourself in hotel ownership? Recently read your book and the Prosperous Hotelier, a whole what neighborhood. Um, so when are you trying before I answer that question, when are you trying to buy your hotel, Rob? And thanks for reading my book. Thanks for supporting. When are you trying to buy your hotel? When I obtain financing. Um, I would definitely think about joining my you have no yeah, so really you need to learn how to network and build a community so you can get access to capital. I mean, you can like NABPUT is a good conference to go for like networking and maybe potentially investing in a hotel as a limited partner. I would say investing in a hotel as a limited partner would be probably a good way to start too. The biggest thing is just get starting, like investing in REITs too. Um, like REITs is economical to invest in as well. But yeah, I would definitely apply to join to my inner circle because being a part of the community and connecting with people, that's probably the biggest thing. And a HOA is good from like an educational standpoint as well. But the biggest thing is just really connecting and really working with people and trying to get on a deal. That's really the only way you're gonna learn. All right. Well, I thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will see you all next time. Have a good weekend and happy Black History Month. Thank you. I hope you all learned something today.
Thanks, Devon. Excellent
Thank
webinar
you.
as usual.
Thank you, Miss Shirley. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Bye bye.